Welcome to a freezing morning in my car. I'm here to talk about a book, as is usually the case. This is one that I was supposed to read last year because it was on my December TBR, but I only finished it this month. Whoops. I just have been in a weird semi-reading slump, and this one I almost didn't finish on multiple occasions, and we can kind of discuss why. But yeah, it's what we're at. Anywho, to talk about this book, I guess I should show you. This is Death on the Night of the Lost Lizards. This was a mystery one that I got. It was going to be part of that Merriam Bright TBR that I wanted to be the whole month of December and still did not complete. But anyways, I believe the prompt was like treats or something, and there's all kinds of food and tea and stuff. So it was like holiday treats. Also, it did take place around Christmas, which I don't know if I knew for sure or not when I picked it up, but it fit that theme that way too. Anyways, so the mystery here is a death that takes place on the night of the Lost Lizards, and you may wonder what in the world that means. The Lost Lizards refers to a tea set that are kind of featured on the cover, that the main character's uncle finds for her. She runs a tea house with her family, and there was this tea set from when she was a child that she really wanted that had these lizards on it, and her uncle found it and sent it to her as like a birthday gift. And the day she gets that, the professor at the local university is killed, and then the mystery is her helping to figure that out. Which, overall, not a bad premise. It's the kind of thing that I generally would enjoy. I do like mysteries, and like a sort of cozy style mystery like this one can be very fun. However, I had some issues with this book, and so yeah, it was not a bad mystery. It was just the mystery itself. I was about 3/4 of the way through the book, and I was like, are we even solving this mystery? What's going on? Why is the plot doing these things? It felt like the main character was just going and randomly talking to people. She's not technically a detective herself. She just, as she tells people when they are like, why are you asking all these questions about this case? She's like, I'm just curious. I need to satisfy my curiosity. Which amateur detective stories are often sort of that nature. But it felt a little too upfront is maybe not the right word for it for me, but it was just being a little too obvious about it, or too like, haha, look, we're acknowledging this thing that happens in these sorts of books. And it was frustrating too, because her boyfriend is a detective, so it almost could have just taken place from his perspective instead. Also, I think technically this was a sequel. It didn't feel like you really needed to have read the other stuff, but the way they referenced like a past boyfriend that she had some trouble with and some previous like murders and things in the town, I was like, oh, it's one of those mystery series. But since it was essentially a standalone, I didn't really mind that it was technically a sequel. But kind of related to her boyfriend stuff too. Her boyfriend's name is Eric Wolf, which you hear repeated multiple times throughout the book, which, I mean, remembering a character's name, whatever, but it was like her referring to her boyfriend specifically, and she'd be like, Eric Wolf in one sentence, and then the next sentence she'd just call him Eric, and it like swapped back and forth a lot. And at least in my experience, you don't generally call your own like significant other by their full name all the time like that. It would just be like Eric, not my boyfriend, Eric Wolf. Please remember that his name is Eric Wolf. And there were a few like references from her family calling him like a wolf and being like, he had bad vibes when the family first met him because he was a wolf and all that. So, I mean, I kind of get being like, here, I'm just going to pin that and pin that and pin that and remind you over and over again. But it was a lot. And it was kind of like, why are we doing this? I don't need this many reminders about his name, or that the wolf part of his name was significant to the family or anything like that. Also, an element I did not expect in the story, although I guess it is technically written on the back looking at it, is that the main character has psychic abilities, which they're not like super strong or super pronounced throughout the story. She's still like developing them. But it was like, I don't see what purpose they're serving in the story. They were kind of off on a tangent for most of their effect on the story because her boyfriend's sister is pregnant and there's some complications in the pregnancy that she like psychically gets some vibes about and stuff, and that's where the majority of like her psychic stuff seems to go. There are a few moments of, oh, I had a bad feeling, and then a thing happens, but not like super significant things necessarily. I don't know. The way the psychic stuff played out didn't really work for me. I feel like you can have a bad vibe or a bad intuition without playing it the way that this story tried to by calling it a psychic thing, because it didn't feel much more like than when I'm reading like a Nancy Drew novel and she has this feeling that this one person might lead her to something or she needs to go follow that person or whatever, you know. It felt like that kind of vibe, not like a psychic ability. So I didn't really get that part of the story. It didn't really work for me. And as I said too, the mystery itself, it felt like it was a lot of her just running around talking to people and semi-collecting clues. Like, technically the things were seeded out when the whole thing was revealed, but the ending, once it is revealed, didn't feel very conclusive or like, yes, this is what we've been building towards. I feel so glad to have been on this mystery and to have figured it out, and it fell very flat for me. So I don't honestly know in some ways why I kept reading it with all the problems I was having with it. Maybe some of it was that there were lizards, even if they were just on teacups. I did like that reference. There was also reference to like a ceramic snake that was kind of cool. I looked up what it was because it was like, oh, this sounds like a real thing. And I looked it up and it was like a real brand, for lack of a better term. I don't know if specifically if that's how it applies, but anyway, so that was fun. I did enjoy that part. And she does have pet cats, which was fun. Although there was one reference to the cats putting their arms around each other, which confused me. Cats don't really have arms to do such with. And even when cats like cuddle and get close, at least when I've seen, they don't really wrap around each other in quite the same way that you would describe like a person putting an arm around them, but that was how the cats were described, as putting an arm around each other. Don't know what was up with that. Maybe it was a typo and it was supposed to be like their tails were intertwined or something, because I could maybe see something like that as a more realistic description. Anyways, if you're interested in some cozy tea house mysteries, maybe you'll like these more than I did. It wasn't a bad book by any means. It just wasn't quite to my taste with a mystery, but I did finish it. So, you know, kudos to me for finishing it. But yeah, I think that's all I've got for now. If you happen to have any thoughts or comments, have read any of this series, or have other cozy mystery series you think might suit me a little better, feel free to comment down below. I think that's all I've got for now. This is the Umlaut Harper, signing out.